appreciate you guys coming today and spending a couple minutes talking about professional development. I try to choose a group, veterans, couple of years here, been here for 10 years, master of all trades, so you represent the entire school. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about professional development. What is professional development to you? To me, when I think professional development, I think it could be continuing education, it could be research and best practices, skills-based training, and developing relationships. So when I'm thinking about skills-based training, I think when we do our CPR as coaches in Coach Carpenter's room, as a staff at the beginning of school every year, that could be a form of professional development. And that's what I think is probably beneficial to at least all the coaches and everyone that has to have that form of professional development. Continuing education might be getting a higher degree. Developing relationships, and I thought long and hard about this. If you co-teach and truly co-teach, it would be beneficial to have some kind of form of co-teaching professional development, and so you can learn the person you're co-teaching with, because that is a lot harder than people think it is. Do we need professional development? And you guys feel free to chime in right here, because I've heard from old school teachers sometimes we don't need it. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I've heard from new school teachers that's all they've known is professional development, and then I've heard some in between. Sometimes it's good for us, sometimes it's bad, if it's beneficial and relevant. Here are things that I'm thinking about when I'm thinking, why do we need it? Keeping up with technology. Technology is ever changing, and since I've been here, we've went from Chromebooks, iPads, we've got Surface Pros now. I've had 3 different computers. I have to learn how to work all these things. I'm not great at it. Inclusive settings, and this is a major one for me as a special ed teacher. I have to know what I don't know. So when I go into class and I'm trying to help my students learn an English, and I'm primarily math, I need to know and work with that teacher, and what are they expecting from me to come in there and teach those students or help with students. Conducting research. I've just done an action research plan where we determined that vocabulary was the #1 thing here in Cedar Bluff that is affecting our reading scores and our math scores on standardized assessments. Learning by doing, and that goes back to the CPR training we had. I mean, if you do it, you're going to learn how to do it, and you can get certified. Effective skill-based training allows participants to learn conceptual information, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. All right, our process for professional development here. And I'm thinking first, you have to fill out a professional development form. The teachers have to fill that out. And then we have approval from the principal. And then that would go to board approval. So the principal could approve it, but the board might not approve it, and it still wouldn't work. After all that, we have to find ways to have money. So how are we funding this? For the most part, the school is not going to fund professional development. We get our funding through the state, through federal programs. I know 21st Century has a lot of money sometimes that they give to teachers and things like that. So that's how we're primarily funding professional development. I went through that. The school, how do we have funds from the school? Does the school have enough funds to maybe offer more professional development? What can we do to make professional development relevant as we go forward? And that's the kind of things I want to think about here in a few minutes. Is it working for Cedar Bluff? And the needs for the students and teachers here. So these are the questions that I kind of want to talk to you about. Is this working? So do we have enough time? Like, if I'm a math teacher, do I have common planning with other math teachers to have professional development? Or do I just have to go in at opposite times as, say, the 7th grade teacher would, or the 8th grade teacher would? Are we together in what we're learning? Properly funded. Once the money runs out from state, federal funds, and things like that, do we have enough money? How are we funding what we need? Goes back to common planning. 1A school, K through 12, it's hard to do common planning, I know. So maybe there's some kind of things that we can look at to get common planning for those teachers. Teachers decide. And what I mean by teachers decide, if I'm a math teacher and I'm trying to teach equations or I'm trying to teach quadratic formulas, it does not benefit me to go to a Read 180 training. All right, so I feel like I've wasted my training. Or if I'm an English teacher, it does not benefit me to learn how to use Prodigy Math in my English class. Okay, now if you're talking about teaching across the curriculum, is there a professional development for that? Is there a book study for that? But as far as, is there a singular purpose for what we're doing, or are we just, wasting money going to things that we do not need? And what is the plan going forward? What kind of plan should we have going forward for teachers? All right. What can be done for improvement? So, more funding, more options in the summer. And I know this is a big thing by just talking to teachers. Me as a coach in particular, a lot of the professional development that's offered through the county is usually in June. It's usually the first 2 weeks in June, and it's usually from 8 to 2 o'clock. So if I'm a coach and I've got practice from 7 to 3, or if I got a ball game, or if I simply can't make it in the summer right there because I'm somewhere else, how do I get that professional development? Am I punished for that professional development? Do I have to come to a flex day in November to get the same thing, or are we even getting the same professional development in November? So those are things that I'm looking at.
Why does it even have to be in the summer? Why couldn't I do professional development after school from 4 to 9 o'clock a couple nights?
Well, and that's one of the things that they've implemented this year that a lot of teachers though have complained about. Mandatory PD, once a 9 weeks.
I kinda like
There's
that.
been lots of complaints that I've heard about that because it affects people that are coaches or working after school programs or whatever, does not work for them to be able to get their professional development. I think offering multiple opportunities. If after school, during the school year works best for you, then you should have that option. But if that doesn't work for coaches because they have practices and games, then they need to find a way that works for them also.
Okay, and well, that goes to my last place. Bringing it to the schoolhouse. Bringing professional development to the school, but not just bringing it, like I said, is it relevant to the teachers? Like, don't just bring professional development here and say you have to attend this professional development. Tell me why we're having to attend. How is it affecting my classroom, first of all? Because let's just be honest. How is it affecting our class? How is it affecting my students and myself? And then how in the big picture is it affecting our school? Then after that, how is it going to affect our county and our system? So instead of just saying you're going to do this professional development, what are we doing? All right.